All right, in this video, we're going to review how the Choose Rows function works in Google Sheets. I'm Adam Steinfurt, this is sheetshelp.com, and in between these videos and the web page, you should be able to learn everything you need to know about Google Sheets. So the Choose Rows function looks at a range of data and picks out whatever rows that you want and returns them. So we will show you the first example. It's just a simple example. We'll switch over to the example template that you can get if you go to this website. Click right here to make a copy of it. We'll hop over and we'll say this is the range that we want to choose rows from. It starts in row 2, goes down to row 7. But one thing that you'll have to keep in mind is that this row would be designated as 1, 2, 3. So this number is relative. It stays the same no matter where the table is. All right, so let's just show you an example of this. The first one that we'll do is just a simple example where we're going to pick row 2 and row 5 and return them. So we will say choose rows. Start out with the parentheses. Now the argument of array is an array or a range. It's usually a range, so we will type the range there. So we'll say A2 through C7. Now you see that highlighted in a color that matches the color of what you just typed, right? So it kind of helps you see visually where you're pointing. And in this range, we said we wanted the second row, so literally just type a 2. That's 2 down from the top. And then the 5th row, so we'll type a 5. We'll close that off. And then here we go. We have the second row, which is Bob, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th row, which is David. It's pretty simple, right? So for our second example, we'll change it a little bit where we're going to count up from the bottom. So let's just say let's do the same thing we do in the website to keep it consistent. In example 2, we'll say we want the bottom 2. So -1, -2. So that's 1 up from the bottom and 2 up from the bottom. So let's go in and change this formula. So the row number, we will say -1 and -2. Hit enter. And the first row is Eve. Second row is David. Still pretty simple, and really any usage like that for this function is easy to do, but this function is usually combined with other functions, right? So if you want to dynamically choose rows based on something else. So we'll show a simple example here of how you can embed it in another function. And what we'll say is, no matter how long the range is, we want to select the bottom row and the second from the bottom row. All right, so this will add a little bit of magic into it, and you'll see how we put other formulas inside of it. So we'll start out doing the same thing. We'll say choose rows. All right, the range will be the same, so we will select it with the mouse. So I'll come over here. I will click on A2, continue holding the button down and go to C7. And then we want to use another formula inside here, right? And what we had said is 1 row up from the bottom, but we want it no matter how big the range is. So we need to make one change before we write the second function inside of here. And that is that we need to take the ending row number off. So instead of saying A2 to C7, we're just going to say A2 over to C and down as far as you need. So this is actually going to look all the way down to the bottom of the spreadsheet, no matter how big your spreadsheet is. But we'll limit how far down it can look to return rows with this formula. So the first one is the last row. And to do that, we're going to count how many cells in column A have values in them. So the expected result would be 6, right? Because you're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we will do that by using the count A function, which just counts any value. We will start it in A2. You don't want A1 because that's where the header is. We're ignoring the headers. And we will count all the way down to the bottom. So again, we're going to leave the last row number off of that range. that'll be the last row because that'll be row 6. We're going to do a comma. And now we want the second to last row. In this case, it's going to be 5, but we will do count A again. So that's going to return a 6. And we will take that value and subtract 1 from it. Hit enter, and here we go. So it grabbed the last row and the second to last row, regardless of how big this is. So if let's add another one and we'll watch these values change. We'll add Mary. All right, see, it still grabbed the last row and the second to last, but what those rows are changed when you type more in there. If you're trying to do this formula yourself and you're getting an error, one common thing that you can do, let's copy this. Let's say you were putting this formula below the rows. So in this case, A10. Usually that'll work, but the way that we're constructing this is that it goes all the way down. So it accidentally catches itself. So this formula is trying to evaluate column A and sees itself in there, doesn't know what to do. So it's giving you a circular dependency detected message. That just means move your formula out of the way. All right, so if you're wanting to choose random rows, instead of using this function, I'm going to link to a video where we show the random sampler add-on. That'll let you avoid formulas completely if you're having a hard time figuring this out, especially if you're trying to select random rows. So if you watch it, I'll see you in that video. Thanks for watching.